Great September, and it's usually the weakest month, right? Well, now we're going into October this week, so we'll be seeing what happens these last 2 days of September. But of course, last week they shook the tree, right? They started to shake things around, and now things are looking better this morning. We'll be looking around to see what stocks are going to rip higher. I got a lot of things on my radar. There's already things that have gone up this pre-market, and that's how they do it. They shake you a little bit, they make you not want to buy, and now they start to lift it off a little bit. So we'll be looking for those pullbacks or maybe rips right out the gates. We'll talk all about the different stocks that are moving out there. Let's get to the action. Let's take a look at what's going on right now as we speak. The SPY right now starting to come back up above the 665 spot. Really a big important spot as it holds at 665 this morning. And yesterday, of course, on Friday's action, we were starting to kind of drop right back down. Well, look how we're just right back up, right? When you put that Harmy candle in on Thursday, then you start to lift it on Friday, and now you start to really squeeze things right back. And this is how it is in the market. It's back and forth, and hey, we got to keep going, guys. So on the swing account, not looking too bad. This is the funded account. We had a really good week last week on that funded account. Got to keep pushing on, keep pushing on. So we'll be looking at different trades. Let's get to the playbook and take a look at what stocks are moving today and what's on the radar. First one up, I think definitely Michael Noss is going to like to hear this one. What about an MSOX trade, potentially? Of course, this is the leverage trade of MSOS, but looking for this to get a move after, of course, Trump putting a post that got this sparked again. Of course, this had been pulling back because there was no action, or at least there was no talk about what was actually going to happen. There was this talk that Trump was going to do something in cannabis, and then he didn't. Now, the post really sparking things back up. We'll see if MSOX can do another cut down through 8. It just attempted to that. It went right to 8 and bounced right off of that. So it could rip off of that level already. That's the level that I'm watching for, the undercut and rally on. We'll see if we get it there on MSOX. Of course, you can watch MSOS, and you can watch also some smaller names in here like Tilray and CGC. But really, I'd be watching more of the ETF because it just gives you a little bit more of that balancing in between the names, right? But let's get out of the cannabis conversation. Let's go to the stocks that I was watching last week, which was the lithium stocks, and SGML already getting the lift this pre-market up there to the 720s. I definitely want a piece of this, but I don't want to jump too early. Of course, towards the bell, even on Friday, I actually sold this. I got this pretty good. I got this at like 690s. Started to see this come back to 7. It went to like 704s. I was like, you know what? 14 cents in the green. I don't think this is going to rip out today. Let me just go ahead and sell it. Maybe the wrong move, as this morning up already, it would have been another 10, 15 cents. So, hey, I had a nice 500 share position. So I'll be seeing if that can rip above the 720s towards the 725s and gets towards the 730s. But this is not the only name that I can look at in this space, right? There's a bunch of names that I can look at. SGML, let's look at LAC that really got the things started in the first place. This was my monster winner from last week, guys. It was a crazy trade, guys. Getting this into 3s, selling it in the 5s, guys. And this got all the way as high as 745, or 750s. So looking for LAC to kind of play in here. It could make the move right back up there and just continue pushing up towards the 7. So we'll be watching to see what happens on LAC. And just to mention the other lithium names, right? SQM did have a good closing there on Friday. Looks like it wants to go back to the 46. ALB, another one really strong and really getting the lift here. This is one that I think could have a longer trend also that is starting to change here. Look at the weekly chart. The weekly, we started to get back above this, held it really well. Now we can make that breakout. We could come back towards the 86 and 84s for dip buys, but right now looking for the breakout above 90s. And then this one could make the run to 100 in a quick manner. So 100 right above it there, guys. 10 points. We'll see if ALB gets it this week. All right, we can take a look at AMD, of course. This is the trade that I was looking at last week. It was kind of hanging in there, but look at the weekly. Look how you kind of been building here. Yes, you tighten down on the consolidation. And what happens is like the same way that it happened in the Tesla breakout. When you have that contraction of the bandwidth, right? You guys can see the bands. The volatility is starting to contract and contract. As that contraction happens, something gives in one direction. So we'll see what happens here on AMD, but we just recently got across to the upside. The RSI has been kind of leaning towards the upside. Everything's pointing that it wants to get back above this 162, 165 range and make another breakout attempt. We'll see if we can get that in AMD. Of course, last week's trade, they got a wrench thrown at it, was NVIDIA. But we'll see. Can NVIDIA just say, well, forget what you were talking about, worries about AI. We're going to shoot this to the moon. Let's see what happens. Does it break out back through 185 and 190? If it does that, I want a piece of AMD also. AVGO on the pullback, also a name that I will keep very close watch this week. I could see this name doing a 330 undercut, maybe even towards like 320s, and then starting to come up higher. So this is definitely a favorite out there, but it's starting to pull back. So looking for pullbacks and undercut is going to be a key thing to look at in Broadcom. All right, we'll see what happens in some other names. Of course, Oracle was a big mover as of late, but now has been pulling back into the gap. Will we get a recovery of 300 on Oracle? Just one name that I'm keeping an eye out for. Of course, we got a lot to talk about in the Sunrise Report. Let's get to that action before we get my man Michael Noss on. But let me check here, just 1 second here. Yeah, looking around out there, let's keep it moving. Let's go towards the Sunrise Report. Let's take a look at what's going on in the market this morning and the action that we got overnight, of course. All right, if we take a look at this morning's Sunrise Report, we're going to, of course, shake off the AI jitters as U.S. stocks futures tickled higher on Monday as traders attempted to regain footing after last week's stumble in the AI trade. Of course, you guys can see the SPY there. The Dow futures were up about 0.3. The S&P futures were up about 0.4. NASDAQ up about 0.6. The bounce came after the S&P 500 logged its worst week since August 1st, with NASDAQ also snapping a multi-week winning streak. Of course, EA going private in their $55 billion deal. And this is a deal that I don't know if America should be too proud of. And I think these are the types of comments that I'd actually like to hear from Trump. But hey, to each his own, right? EA is getting that lift. For investors, is definitely a a roar out there as this is really kind of ripping EA to another level. Big news in the gaming, of course, Electronic Arts will be taken private by a Saudi Arabia private fund and Silver Lake. Also, Affinity Partners in this all-cash deal valued at $55 billion. The move marks one of the largest gaming deals ever, signaling continued appetite for digital entertainment assets despite a broader market caution. Of course, EA has been like embedded in anybody that's ever played games, especially if you like sports games. EA definitely makes the best sports games, and now the question is, will they continue? Right? We'll have to be wondering what happens there. But definitely the private deal there. And going private is, I don't think it's necessarily the best thing for this company, but we'll see what happens there. And we'll also see what happens to Take Two, right? Take Two, of course, getting it a little bit right now in that making a move. AI stocks regaining some footing, of course. NVIDIA, we talked about it. Oracle starting to bounce back in the pre-market here. We'll see how these stocks do, of course. This came after speculatism, of course, last week, whether NVIDIA's OpenAI infrastructure partnership could truly scale given energy and cost concerns. Of course they can, man. I know that there's energy and cost concerns, but it's all about how much money you want to throw at it, right? Trump warning of shutdowns and layoffs as President Donald Trump told NBC News that the government shutdowns Tuesday could cause widespread layoffs. Dun, dun, dun. We'll see what happens there, guys. I'll tell you one thing. I can't even believe these headlines. The shutdown headlines, I just can't. It's hard for me to even talk about them. Cannabis stocks, of course, blazing higher after cannabis stocks ripped higher as Trump posted a Truth Social video endorsing cannabinoids use for seniors. So he posted a video about CBD. It caused some of the other stocks to kind of rip higher too. That LAC trade already ripping, and I'm missing a little bit of it. It's not a rip, but I want to watch this. It's already starting to go higher. I don't want to miss these trades, so it's time to kick the show off because I'm itching for some trades out there, guys. We'll see what happens out there. We'll take a look at what's going on. Of course, this week is the big watches, non-farm payrolls that approach on Friday. All right, let's kick the show off. Let's start that countdown and get to the action. You know what time it is. It's time for Trade the Pool. Wants 200, baby. You ready to get back to the trading action?
You aim, you shoot, and make money.
It's going to be a great day. You guys know where you're at. The man himself, Michael Nas. How we doing out there?
Oh, another great time to be a bull. I hope everyone survived the bear market of 1.5% down.
I know.
Loud
man.
about.
They shook the tree. I'll tell you that much, right? That they definitely did.
Is that all they can do to shake the tree? Is 1.5%?
But
that's
the
all you can do, man.
The key is the headlines too. Like I'm with you. The price action told us it, but you saw the headlines on Thursday and Friday. They were definitely. But the AI infrastructure trade is on alert risk. Well,
you made an assumption there that I saw the headlines as if I was reading the news. There's no way, no shot. Didn't see nothing, and I'm glad about it because I just bought that anchored view app pullback, and
there it is. Well,
highs incoming.
That's just how that's how they do it to you there. So of course you'll see kind of a little bit of a bounce back conversation today, but I don't think we ever really saw some down action there. It was all really on the only thing that matters I think now is inflation and kind of the rate cuts that are coming, right? Of course, the jobs number came in a little light, so they were like, "Oh no, but this is going to make the kind of the cuts not come." Well, guess what, guys? It's not going to come with Jerome anyways, right? He gave you guys one cut to just kind of end the conversation. He was like, here you go. And now we can just kind of push this to a side for a little while. I highly doubt that we get too many rate cuts coming forward into December. I know there's a lot of people still betting on it, but
I was about to say, well, you could pop your money where your mouth is. If you think we've had one cut, there is currently, I'm looking at the market, a 5% chance. So if you're right, you could put down for every $5 you put down, you could win $100 if you're right. So
it's not a bad bet. I'll tell you this much because at the end of the day, I still think that the tariff situation is still not done. They're still not done. It's still conversations about deals, and we still don't even know what the hell the China deal is. Remember how they said that there was a deal done? What deal? Tick, tick, tick. It's been a couple weeks.
But yeah, so I would, right? That's a insane return if you're interested in it. So if you only think the one's coming,
it's an interesting hedge bet, Michael, because I'm also looking to buy a house, right? So it's like
there you go.
It's like I'll bet this one, but then if you do cut it, I'm not mad at you either.
Yeah, you'll be lowering that interest rate. So because currently we've got coming in second, there's a 30% chance of two cuts, and then the wide majority, and this kind of changed. This is a real time chart, so this changed when he cut and after his comments the first time. People pretty quickly shot up to like 70% chance of 3 points, and then that dropped one cut down to like 2%. So that was put $2 down, make $98 if you're right.
So to put it in perspective, like a month ago in August, this was viewed as only a 45% chance for the next meeting. And they had meeting here. So that's October.
Yeah, 3 cuts were trading around in August. 3 cuts were trading around 11%. So that would also have been a pretty good bet if you had gone from there all the way up to
It
70%.
just goes to show you that it changes, right? This one
Oh
could
yeah,
change also, right? And that's
yeah.
another thing too. And these percentage games are just bets. Um,
Well, yeah, it's people. It's the same as the Fed fund rates, right? The
yeah.
Fed fund rates is just a culmination of what interest rates are trading out there in the street. It's just people putting their money to say, I'm going to bet on interest rates kind of directly. And like you talk about, a lot of places do it as a hedge. A lot of places do it just for speculation, like anything else.
Hmm.
Because yeah, if you were in an interest rate sensitive industry, I could almost see, these poly markets and things like this as a way to hedge your business. If for whatever reason interest rate cuts would hurt you, well, you put a bet on that there's going to be a lot of them, and then at least you get paid out some. You hedge some of the underlying risk with them. But that's what they're looking at right now is between 2 and 3. There's like a 70% chance we get at least one more this year, and that's never really dropped. Right, from there's 2 has always been kind of the most dominant, at least going back as far as this chart goes.
Yeah, I like there's a newer chart that the Fed put out there that you can use on their website, which is the comparison chart. Um, so this one's the target rate probability is the same thing we just talked about, right? That 46%. So the light blue is going to be the oldest kind of data, right? 1 month ago. Dark blue being the current, and I like that because you get to see at least a little bit of a comparison of how it's kind of moved, right? You can see that in the numbers too, but I think the graphical
Mhm.
representation tells you more of it, right? So this dropped almost half of that bar, right? And then if you think about it in this sense, right, there's a 68% chance right there to get that next cut, right? And so this was only about a 40. So I think it's interesting to see that we are moving in that direction, but I also tend to listen to what Jerome says. And he wasn't too even, I think, like raw about this cut, let alone more down the line. So, hey, prolonged interest rates, I think, is the move, but I don't think that's even a negative thing for the market. I know everyone's thinking that the rate cut has to happen now because it started. I don't think that's the fact. But let's keep
Well,
going.
yeah,
Let's take a look at the action, right?
it all depends what your business is, right? If you're a large cap tech, you don't care if he cuts. If you're a mom and pop company, you definitely want, right? So it's whether he's looking whether you're looking at the smalls or the bigs, right? The smalls obviously care a lot about interest rates. The big guys, right? Nvidia doesn't care if interest rates are 4 or 5%. If
Yeah.
you're running a small bank or a coffee shop or something like that, any relief you can have in that department would be great. Um, just going through some of the sentiment data here, and for the
Yeah.
first time, so this is the uh, 8 weeks, 7 8 weeks in a row of they broke the streak of more bears than bulls. Now, barely, right? It's about 50-50 bears and bulls, but it was about 7 8 weeks in a row of everybody being bearish all of the time. And last week that broke again, just a little bit, not substantially, but that's the first kind of crack in everybody bearish and everybody wrong all the time that we've seen in, again, ages, 2 3 months. That's pretty wild. And then if you go into the positioning data, they covered a little bit last week. They went from about negative
Mm.
225,000 shares shorts to around 100,000 contracts short. That's still a pretty big deal. And then on the Russell 2000, they covered actually quite a bit. They went from 88,000 contracts short to about 53,000 contracts short. So we're starting to see, we've been seeing it, but this was the first kind of major move where I can say, okay, right, nobody's bulled up. You don't look at that and say, oh, everyone's bullish and, this sentiment's getting a little bit too crazy because it's 1% net bulls. However, it's one of those things where uh, if you have extreme positioning and that positioning becomes a little bit less extreme, well, right, you get something happening there, right? And so I'm looking at that as maybe the beginning of an unwind. I'm not as pounding the table bullish as I was because, until that positioning led up and until the sentiment didn't have every single person on planet Earth bearish, there was nothing in the world that was going to get me to sell stocks. But now that that's lightening up just a little bit, maybe I can start to take a little bit more of a neutral stance. Maybe it's time to take some money off the table after being really, really long, like uncomfortably leveraged long for a long time here. We're starting to see that unwind. If we go into the NASDAQ, right, they've sold a little bit. So the NASDAQ was the only thing that they were net long. So that pairs trade of short, small caps, long, large caps, that's unwinding a bit. And again, people are getting a little bit less bearish, right? A little bit. You can do historical, right? And just take a look. So there was always, so ever since August, it's been over more bears than bulls, basically from this point since August 6th. And again, this is the first time we've seen that flip. Again, not a huge amount, but just enough that I go, okay, well, at least everyone in the world is not wrong anymore.
Yeah.
They're still quite wrong, but
it's still quite wrong, but hey, they'll stay wrong and forever.
Well, eventually, right, when we start to see these numbers reverse, because you can go back and look, that's the beauty of them. If you go to the SPY, you see where these guys the most bullish right here, right before the bottom fell out of it, right? They were also the most bullish kind of right here, right before the bottom fell out of it. So I take less stock on when everyone is super bullish and everyone is super long, because if you're long and the market's going up, you're right. So there's no reason for that to be a concern. Again, it's when you have that divergence of everybody is short and the market is ripping, or if everybody is long and the market starts to sell, that's where I'll kind of take a look at that. But still a long way to go to be back to a neutral stance, and very long way to go to be back into a bullish stance, but just very slightly less bearish than they have been for the last couple months.
It will be interesting to see if that starts to turn a little bit. We'll definitely keep our eyes open to see that. But
If history serves, it will turn right at or near a short-term top. So that's why I pay so much attention to it. Is as soon as they get bullish, then they go, okay, well, we don't have any forced buyers anymore, so maybe it's time the market settles down a bit.
yeah, and we're definitely getting towards the end of the year, where things have a tendency of doing a little bit of a shakeup. Then maybe we get a little Santa Claus rally. Who knows? We'll see if Santa's good this year. We'll find out, guys. Looking around out there, looking for trades and looking to see what we can come up with, guys. There's a lot still to do and a lot of trading action. We'll look at the chats to see if there's anybody calling out any trades. So if you guys see a trade out there, throw it up.
Yeah, there was not, obviously MSOS, right, ripping a lot of these. Any of the sector has been doing well. Again, I got out of my position from around the 2s and the 5s. I got MSOX. But if this holds, I'll be getting back in. This is one of those. I love this trade because everybody else hates this trade. So like we were talking about, when everybody is on one side of the boat, you're usually better to kind of take the other side. And interesting, right where that turn happened. This is the anchored VWAP from all-time lows. Every time we've come and hit it, and this was the premise for my first trade in here, is we come back, we pull into it, it acts as support, comes back again, acts as support, comes back again, and so on and so forth. So if we can hold this, it's to see if it's one of those open up and just crash, or whether or not we're actually able to hold this this zone right here. If we are, then I'll be buying some probably into the close. You can see if you go to the extended hours trading, it's just been kind of bleeding a little bit all morning. So I'm looking for it to like hold 5. Hold 5, I'll get right back in. For one, I'm just trading the ETF on this one because I can get MSOX, which is a leveraged version of it. I'm not interested in like trying to pick the winner here, like a Tilray or one of these junky names. I know you get more juice if you do that. It's just easier for me to kind of look at this because it's a all of these are going to somewhat move together. then I just think it's kind of easier just to grab the targeted ETF again, because there's a leverage one. So I'm able to get that 2x leverage for these short-term trades, right? So that ended up being like a $3. It's like a $3 buy, and I think it was like a $10 ish out. So that was an amazing one. And then Open, I noticed, was moving a little bit in the pre-market, getting quite a bit of volume. Not really much action, but a whole lot of volume here in the pre-market. So just keep an eye on this. Again, I'm still in it. I still have a bunch of my position as long as it's chopping inside this box. There wasn't really any update when it came to the short float of this, I don't think. Short interest. Yeah, no update yet. Still 30%. 1 in 3 shares being lented out to the short side.
Yeah, we got to watch the names that pumped, right? It was the quantum names that pumped. A lot of names, big rips. We're talking huge rips last week. So there was some stocks that continued up, right? We got to continue to watch to see where the flavor of ice cream moves today, right? And this week. Last week's flavor was quantum. Will it continue being quantum? Or maybe will it go nuclear? Or maybe it will go AI? Honestly, we don't know just yet, right? But we got to keep our eyes. Maybe the flavor of ice cream this week is cannabis. Who knows, right? So that's why I got it on my radar. I think you do watch that cannabis trade, see if we get some squeezing action, right? Something, right? We need to look for where the price action is right now. And I think that's where you keep riding the wave, right? Because I think that's the only way to trade this market. It's not necessarily looking for like longer term trends now. At this point, you're just trying to ride the momentum. Where there's momentum, the traders are going. And I think that we do the same until, you take a haircut that's like, okay, well, calm it down, right? And it's going to happen, but let's keep riding the wave and trying to cash in on this bull rally. Because that's what it is. It's just a bull rally that hasn't really turned, and a whole bunch of people trying to call the turn.
Yeah, and the more those people try to call the turn, the more we're going to move higher. And that's what, again,
and that's where usually you get that last little explosion. I think we're at that point. I think we're in the late innings, but the late innings could last long. We could go to extras.
Well, and I just review history, right? So we had a Trump admin before, right? And what happened after all the craziness died out, right? With this, we had the sell-off, which was, China war, trade wars, J-Pow, same story. Came all the way back up. Everyone hated this rally. And then we were done. We had all of 2020, like 2019 was just, this I think was the lowest volatility year on record.
Yeah.
And just a massive rip of like 16-17%. So
yeah, and that continued trend higher where people trying to call the tops, try to call the tops, try to call the tops, try to call the tops.
Again, bears sound smart, bulls make money. I love the quote because it's just so insanely true. Right. So, say you've been bearish this entire time, and let's say you're right and we get like a 20% crash, right? We're not even back to this prior low at this point, right? So, it's always better to be at least from the long term to the long side, and then if you want to take a short here or there, you go nuts. But I always just look at a best case scenario, right? You have like a 50% crash. It's like, okay, well, we're at 2020. Have you been calling it the whole time? If we have a 50% crash, you're down to 2022 levels. It's like, if you've been calling for a 50% crash now, you've been probably calling for it since 2022. So maybe you get back to even. Like, congrats.
Definitely
that's like best case scenario.
Yeah, I mean, that's just how it goes sometimes, man. And this is the thing about fighting what you think should happen or not happen. The truth is, the market doesn't work like that. If it was logical things, then yeah, things like tariffs aren't great. They're not great for the economy, but in the long run, guess what? Doesn't matter, man. Stocks don't work like that, guys. It's not a book. As much as people will try to sell you the book, it's not a book, unfortunately. That's just not the way things work. The one thing that we can do, try to find patterns, because patterns change. And as of late, the pattern has just been buy the dip works. That's going to, at some point, get tamed also, right? So, but for right now, I mean, that's where I see the trades, and I'm going to look for more of those today. We can talk about some certain stocks to look at. Any stock on your radar, Michael?
I just think as I go through the pre-market gap, right, everything's up quite a bit, and okay. And then you have MSOS up 20%. So I think you'd be crazy not to look in that sector if you're looking for shorter term trades, right? Again, you could
Yeah.
either just do MSOX as the
That's the hard part. I
as
can't trade
browser
Tilray
or
or
Tilray.
CGC because I know the fundamentals of the company. And sometimes
Yeah,
this
but
is the
for a
bad
day,
thing. This is the bad thing about
it's
knowing it, though. It's like it just deters my mindset on it, right? The attractiveness
yeah, and
of
that's
the trade
a main
comes
reason I
away.
don't know, because the fundamentals could not matter less than if you're in and out in something in an hour, right? The fundamentals have
Yeah.
not changed
Yeah.
the view of the company, whether it's in and out in an hour or a couple hours. So that's
Like
why, yeah,
like like
I'm not.
CGC and Tilray, they're never coming back, guys. Doesn't matter what they want to do because they've diluted
Don't.
themselves to absolute hell. But the truth is, that doesn't mean that they can't go back to, let's say, for CGC, $3, $4,
Yeah, that's a
$5,
double.
right? You know what I
That's a
mean? Like
triple.
that's
Yeah,
that's still within the realms, right? And that's just the way it is. But yeah, for me, I think the better vehicle is to just go with the ETF, the MSOS, or in my case, if you're day trading, you're just looking at MSOX, right? You're just trying to get as much as possible in the juice. But the one thing I will say, and maybe you can study this, Michael, and one day when you just feel like you want to study it, is this stock, it's particularly MSOS, has a tendency of gapping and crapping. Like, I think it's like if you look at the statistics of the times where it gaps in the pre-market and then it just craps into the open, it's like probably in the 80 percentile of those gaps fail. So that's one thing that I will say, that watch out with MSOS. I've heard countless traders that trade this. I even know a trader that trades this like often, like way too much, but I won't down him for it. But yeah, he says it too, right? So a lot of times it gaps and it pulls back on the first hour, like it really craps out the open and then starts to come back. So that's what I'll be looking for in these stocks. Crap, slow down, slow down. Let's say maybe around like 11 starts to turn. Right. So we'll see what happens
yeah,
on that. Right.
maybe I don't. Yeah, and that could be. I'm just thinking that could be a probably pretty easy indicator to build. Just
Exactly. That's why I'm
what's the
mentioning
chance
it to
of
you,
it
Michael.
kind of
Because like
gapping and selling?
if you're gonna do it to me like 10, 15 times out of like 17 gaps, well, maybe I just do it. Like maybe I take a trade off of that, right? I can even short the open and then buy it back on like an hourly low, right? Or the gap or the prior day's high, something like that. Like this stock has a tendency of doing those types of patterns.
And Trader Life saying I haven't seen a bull market in this strong in 10 years. Man, were you sleeping during 2021? 2021 was insane. People selling pictures of rocks for like 500K. That to me was probably the biggest that I had seen. This is just nuts.
Yeah.
Like
When
there's
I started to call out SPACs of 30% gains, and people were like, no, but I got one that was 45.
well
You know what I
that's
mean? Like it was like overnight at 30%, but nope, not cool. The 45% was the move.
yeah, so that's January, basically 47% gain in a year and on the SPY. And we're up like what 4 or 5% this year, and everyone's saying
Yeah.
this is a bubble. It's gotta go. Right. And that the thing that I think is interesting about 2021 and the rocket we had there is because it came off of a crash, just like we're doing right now. Right. We've come
Yeah.
off of a crash.
The only thing is we had that artificial backing, right, of the buying with the Fed because they put an artificial stop in this market. That's the only way we came back in 2020. It's
Well, so I'm
the
I'm glad.
artificial money that came in, right?
And then, right, if we do 2021 where we had, or 2024 where we had really high rates, if you just do the all-time high from now with really high rates, that was a 30% gainer to the top, and
Mm-hmm.
then selling right after that. So not as much, but we still had 30%. So then the question is, So, okay, so if we have 40% as soon as we break this all-time high, and then we have another 30% when we break this all-time high.
We got 20% now?
We got 20% when we break. If so, that's what, 7,500 on the
Let's go
S&P
for it.
500.
Let's call the top right there, 7,500. There we go, guys.
All right, let's write that down just in case we're right. And if we're right, we'll talk about it. And if we're wrong, we'll just never mention it again. That's how.
Just put a tweet right now, and then we're going to re-quote that.
Yeah. And if not, it just stays buried forever.
Stays buried. 3 months later, you never see it again.
That's how all the people, if you ever go, listen, I called it, and they're not showing that they made money off it, that's the game plan.
Yeah, you know how it is, man.
So
It's a game of it's a finance game of talking heads. And we're part of the talking heads, so don't act like we're not. But guess what? We try to keep it real with you guys, right? That's the key. That's the key. We try to keep it real with you guys. Let's take a second here before we get back to the stock market action. It's 9:26. We're getting towards the open real soon, guys. But did want to talk, of course, about our competition, guys. Don't miss it if you go, of course, to trade the pool. I'll give you guys a link there so that you guys can go right to it. But sign up for the competition right now, guys. It's going to be a really fun competition. Like always, we have all these competitions. But we are going to do the Ackman competition. So don't want to miss out on that, guys. Definitely go ahead and hit that, guys. I'll be throwing up the link. The trading competition to beat Ackman here, guys. And it's going to be really interesting. It's going to go from the 8th on, of course, October towards the 10th. First is the first part where you're trying to beat Ackman's portfolio and get part of the final day. The final day is going to be on, of course, the 13th when we're in Trader TV's studio live there, guys. Don't want to miss that out. That's going to be on the 13th on October. And then that day is going to be a P&L challenge. Of course, Michael Katz will be there. I'll be in studio, and we'll be battling, trying to compete for the top prize, guys. So definitely get out there, guys. Get over to the Beat Ackman trading competition. And I'm just glad to beat on Ackman anyways, but that's just my personal presence.
You should do it by trading exclusively Herbalife. And
yeah, like I would personally, like to tell Ackman himself, that he can go Ack himself. But hey, you know how it is, guys, with these investors. They like to make money on us. So let's go make some money on them. One thing that I will give you guys is their portfolio, and we'll break it down. So before we get to the competition, next week, look forward towards on Monday and Tuesday. We're going to first on Monday break down Ackman's portfolio completely. We'll go through it in different areas, show you where the concentrations are so that we can keep even a watch list of these stocks so we know how he's performing throughout in real time, right? We'll look to see what's happening there. And then we'll also on Tuesday talk about strategies that we can probably take in the competition to get towards the top end, right? Of course, competition strategies are a little bit different. So stay tuned and catch us on Monday and Tuesday of next week and all week, of course, right here as we get to the competition. Excited to keep things going, guys. Let's go ahead. Let's keep things going. Let's move over now back to the market action and take a look to see, can the SPY keep on climbing today? Starting to lose a little altitude here. And now, of course, they do this right before the bell. Why? Because they want you to feel the panic before the bell. The question is, are you guys in your buying shoes today? Let us know in the chat. If you're feeling a little bullish today, put a 1. If you're in the bearish camp and you want to roar out there with the bears, press 2 out there. We'll see what happens out there. Let's keep it going. Jim Z in the house, Talk in the house, of course, and everyone in the house out there, say hello. Here's the market open. Let's have some fun and let's get trading, team.
Yeah, so for me, I'm just watching, obviously, the gap close would be big. We've got Friday's high and Friday's post-market high all line up around 662. So if we start to pull back, that would be, a gap close. That'd be an interesting area to take a look at. But, for me, it's all looking good. So I want to watch the pre-market highs and see what happens if we reverse from there. And then, of course, I've got close eyes on MSOS. And MSOX, just because I'm looking for that for another swing. That first one was like nearly a triple. So if things are looking a little bit good, if everyone's getting excited there, I don't know, maybe more of the same. I've noticed PSIL, which shouldn't have been related to that tweet, but is also ripping with MindMed, doing great after this.
LAC starting to move higher there from 610 to 640. He's looking for a pullback here to join the party. Don't want to jump up too high up here and just buy the high, but looking for a small pullback. SPY hanging out there, starting to decline a little bit there. RCAT on my radar too, starting to get back above 11s. That's just one name I'm keeping watch. Joby also, of course, and names like that. I'll let you know how they're moving out there.
Whatever is an SKYT, Skywater Technologies. Bot took a short there. Just looking at this, a little overextended
QUBT.
play.
QUBT in play. That's one name I'm keeping an eye on. Got the lift on Friday above the 21s and then kind of really kind of came down with the market. Let's see if it can lift off again against this 21. All right, taking a little bit there off the 21 spot here. I'm just going to risk about 20 cents here off the 21, but long QUBT in the day trade account. This thing
Nice
took
little
off.
lift there. I have some of this in my swing account as well, just on a little algo I run. So I hope you're right.
Let's see it. Let's see it. Just want to see the 21s hold here and it rip higher above the 2150s. There we go, holding in pretty well.
Yeah. Yeah, SKYT not working out too well, but again, it's first trade, super early.
MSOX did make a little attempt down to come back to the 8s and couldn't undercut the 8s. So maybe that starts to hold here and then breaks above the 850s. But I'm watching that. I wanted that undercut towards 8. We got one in the pre-market that went right to 8 and it stopped there. So I'm kind of keeping a very close eye to see what happens on that.
Yeah. I wonder how
add
different
here on QUBT. I kind of like the action here. So let's see if it can come right back up here.
Let's take a look at the SPY off the open, right? Just so far a doji candle to get started. We've got absolutely nothing we care about today for anything, right? Pending home sales, but this is like the third most important home sales data. And, we've had existing and new homes and all that. So there's really nothing here that we care about. Tuesday, a little bit bigger, but really, right, the job openings and all of that, that'll be a big deal. But nothing today in the way of economic numbers. I don't even see any scheduled talks or anything with the man himself. So, a day to, after a gap like this, right, I'm certainly not going to chase anything. I think waiting for pullbacks and that kind of thing, that might be the move. But I just do what the bot says. So I only got that one trade going on right now. I'll let you know if there's anything more that pops up.
Yeah, about to get hit here. QUBT pull back to 2050 real quick there. Could have been a bull trap here. Needs to bounce if not going to take the hit. IonQ coming down there, not really helping things. TSL pushing a little bit here out the gates. A lot of pullback out the gates after that first little attempted push up here. Looking for what names are leading the watch list. UMAC, FLNC, of course, that name continuing. Our cat tried to get above the 11, kind of ran into a wall. A name that's pushing Hood. Hood is pushing. That doesn't look bad there. BE recovering today. AUR, Tesla, Pony. Not looking too bad out there. Running through some of the names here. AMD doesn't look too bad there. Let's see if AMD gets going today. That's one name that I definitely do want on a kind of swing trade again. I did get cut on it last week, but that doesn't mean that I can't take it again this week, right?
Damn, what happened to crude oil? Down 2.5% intraday.
Yeah, something had to happen there.
That's good, right? So people worried about inflation. That's kind of your biggest driver. So that crashing has got to be a good thing.
Lithium's back down to $6 there. LAC back down. Thinking about buying the dip on SGML, but AMD is just pushing strong there.
Tax says OPEC. OPEC's must be mean doing their yapping.
Yeah, they
So,
love to do it on the weekend, so that's how you get that type of move.
so that's interesting. So you can grab your, that's in place. You could grab your Exxons or your Chevrons, or if you have any favorite oil plays, start to focus on those. They're all, Chevron's tanking here, Exxon selling. You can grab some of these plays. There's probably also some good leverage ETFs in the oil sector. Then I hear a lot of, just looking at our boy Walter's Twitter, he's ranting a lot about China. So I guess there's some either pref conference or something, just keeps yelling about China. So take a look
Oh,
at FXI. Oh, FXI is breaking out. Yeah. KWeb.
yeah,
KWeb's breaking out. JD gap up.
yeah.
Baba.
I like
Ooh,
that
Baba
JD.
gap up and rip.
It's like trapped a lot of people, that JD. I feel like the people have gotten burned on JD in the last couple of weeks, just chopping around. And so, like the recent undercut, this one to 33, it might not come back there. And so, you start using some lows to try to measure this up.
Yeah, that's probably my favorite chart. I don't like to go in the real low cap China stuff with my own money just because
Yeah.
it's terrifying. So JD is one of those that has been still in really beaten up mode, right? A high of 120 and it's at 35 and breaking out of this little falling wedge. And then you combine that with the fact that it's still a real kind of company. Like there's I wouldn't say no chance, but very little chance that this like goes to zero like a DD did overnight because China says no. So yeah, whatever this China talk or conference is, they're everything I'm seeing here is not only up but seems to be popping a little bit from the open. So pay attention to the
Got cut
Chinese
there.
space.
Pretty decent loss there on QUBT, but hey, we'll look to bounce back there. I'm looking at that MSOX. It's just undercut the $8 spot there. Looking for some buyers to come in below eights and then put up a little wall here. So you could see them starting to. There's like on the level 2, there's a 10,000 share buyer at 788. They're trying to put up a wall. So they started to buy in the 80s here on MSOX, and looking to see if that starts to hold.
Yeah, because that was interesting. I actually saw the video. I don't know why. Scrolling my Twitter feed. It was late last night, and it was all just about CBD. So there was no mention there to legalizing the other stuff, but just going at it from like the medical lowering of inflammation and all that good stuff we know CBD does. And
Yeah.
um,
But it's
it's
it's always the misinformation. Um, that's the problem.
uh,
That's the day and age that we're in. It's not the age of information; it's the age of information. Misinformation.
so
It's just twisted information for you.
yeah, I don't know what I'll take a look in perplexity. It's all about what companies, if you want to look at individual companies, what companies specialize on CBD.
You don't have much.
Um,
I'll tell you that right off the back. You don't have much. The only one you could probably have is Charlotte's Web, and even then, I don't even think it trades on the open market. So that's why you're seeing stocks go towards these cannabis names, right? These cannabis names, they also don't have the best CBD products. I can tell you that right now without a doubt in my mind. It's not like you can get really good quality CBD. That's the problem with CBD. It's that most people don't realize it, but it's not as easy to get as even THC. Um, like you don't just grow plants a lot of the times, and they have low THC, high CBD. But that's a whole nother conversation, guys.
well, yeah, and it's funny. I think told the story before, but when we legalized marijuana up here, um, that was the thing that was in the highest demand. You would get there'd just be a bunch of old ladies who were like, "My hips have never felt better," and they would just be lining up. So it'd be hilarious to drive by the weed stores in Canada, and it wasn't just a bunch of stoners outside. It was a bunch of old ladies who were just,
Dude,
uh,
I,
and they bought the crap out of it, man. It was crazy.
I'm seeing at least a little good trend here, and it's in semiconductors, guys. Doing pretty well here. Microsoft doing well. Big boys starting to catch here. If we want the party to keep going, the big boys could catch. AVGO was a name I mentioned, looking for undercuts and rallies back up. The chart just looks like it. The daily chart, like this undercut here, just looks pretty. Higher lows, higher lows. Seems like they're betting there in AVGO and AMD ripping, 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 guys. This is why I was wanting AMD, but it's already just shooting too much for me. Now I'm chasing it, right? Like this is too much in one bar for me to jump on the swing. So I just need to get pullbacks. I'm going to be looking for pullbacks in AMD today. It was part of the playbook and it is pushing. I said, look for pushes quickly to 162. Literally did it today right out the gate. 160 straight to 162. Now starting to pull back. MSOX holding well. That could start taking off.
So I asked Perplexity here to like look all this up. Jazz Pharmaceuticals, which I had no idea, is 15% of their revenue from CBD products.
MSOX starting to jump here, guys. Now to 840s here. So I'm looking for dips here to get in.
EPID. Yeah, this is not.
Come on, give me a quick dip here. Look at the wall, man. They're now putting the wall. Remember I told you they were going to put a wall by like 8, by below 8. Now they're starting to put it all the way up to 804. There's like these 10-cent increment ladder of 10,000 shares. And they're just all showing up, guys. This is what I mean, guys. I'll show you it so you can see what I'm talking about. So you see these now. Look how the bottom one's a 20,000 share order. Look at these spoof orders, man.
Oh, that's interesting.
You see the 10,000 shares, and then 20,000 shares right below it. All right, so they're just spoofing the tape there above, and keeping one big order closer to the action, right? So you can clearly see it on the tape there.
So Jazz Pharmaceuticals, I guess, has the only FDA approved, because this whole thing was about dealing with CBD for old people and prescriptions and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And Jazz Pharmaceuticals owns the only FDA approved CBD pharmaceutical product. And then I look at the chart.
Spread's
Chart
going
doesn't look
wide.
bad. Right? Chart doesn't look awful here. You got a nice little just kind of bull flag here. So it's only 14% of the revenue, so it's not going to be huge, but it's interesting. It's interesting the market is not reacting to this. So if there is going to be, if that's the route that he's taking when it comes to, hey, we're going to make this stuff for medicine purposes as opposed to just making it super legal, then again, this is something I want to watch. I'm going to set an alert here on Jazz, see if this thing gets moving for a potential swing. I'm again still looking at the MSOX, but that was just kind of a cool way to show that you can just prompt AI to kind of help you with this stuff and say, hey, let me know. Because I just would have automatically gone to like Tilray, Canopy Gross, Chronos, all those things, but I just never in a million years would have guessed this thing.
Looking to see if Arcade can get back above 11s today. So that's one name to watch, above 11s. Seeing some bounces. It's a lot in tech names, guys. So just to point that out, tech leading the rally right now, at least in the market. You've got 3 sectors in the green, the rest of them in the red. Healthcare and energy leading the downside.
And then psychedelics ripping more than
tech pushing
back
strong. Another push there for tech. So some tech names continuing to push, guys. So trying to find those names are not going to be too bad. Looking for names like that I can ride. I see Beyond Meat pushing today, guys. Is it the squeeze of Beyond Meat right now?
Oh, that thing's got to be shorted into the floor, right?
Dude, something happened today. It's down to like 150 today. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Some news happened at like 8:15. I didn't catch it, but
43% float. bankruptcy. That's the only like if I see this thing gapping down, I just assume bankruptcy. Like, what else are they gonna do?
I'm just mad that I never took my bet. There's MSOX, Clean Spark also pushing higher, guys. So there's some stocks holding in well here. KLAC starting to hold well. Look for the Qs to lead because tech is leading the rally. So tech would be leading. Qs would also help. SPY will trickle back as the Qs lead higher. That's what I'm looking for. Coin and Hood looking good here as they're recovering.
Yeah, I was just when I was scrolling on my news feed here on Twitter, someone saying that they're making now a bunch of money, Hood, from these event contracts. So basically launching their own poly market. It's a very nice way of saying betting on everything, event contracts.
Looking around, guys, trying to find the trade here. RCAT might be my next bet here on the day trade account. Doesn't look too bad.
And AMC, let's take a look at AMC. Trump re-ups plan to 100% tariffs on companies or on movies made outside the U.S.
Ponies pushing strong there. Hood pushing strong. Those are names really holding in well. Clean Spark holding in well. AMD now almost 163, guys. I'm just like, God dang it. I was trying to get AMD all last week. It just kept cutting me. And today it just goes zoom, right to the resistance. And I hate chasing. You guys know it. I'm just not a fan of chasing. I feel like I chase more on the day trade than I do on the swing, man. It's crazy. You probably would be better off doing the opposite way around, maybe even chasing some swings, but not chasing the day trade. But I can't do it. I don't know. That's why I like swing trading, because I feel like I can respect my rules like that much more, right?
Well, and there's been tons of studies on this. The more time that you are pressured to act, the worse decisions you'll make, right?
Yeah, this makes
and
complete sense, right?
yeah, you don't need a real study for that, but just shows that, and that's one of the main reasons that people, yeah, when you run the studies, it's the longer term people hold. Generally, the more money they make, even if it's making speculative bets, is because you have time, you can let your body lower, all that kind of thing. This tax
There's
asking about MindMed.
MFLX right back down.
If I bring up MindMed, I always have to disclose that
Mine,
I have
man.
a disgustingly large position in this thing. But yeah, nice little breakout today. I'm just seeing it. I don't know if it's just kind of in sympathy with
It
MSOX, right?
moves. It moves with it, man. I can tell you, as someone that knows the relationship, it just moves with it.
And MindMed for sure. If you go through, the only one that's been stronger recently than MindMed is this ATAI. The rest of them are just in the dumps. What
Well,
CMPS?
there's one that's in the dumps that I think has a lot of
IBM.
intellectual property. So yeah, right there. I would go after this one in the dumps. But you're definitely buying one in the dumps. But the key is, I think the intellectual property itself is probably worth more than the $5 that the company's worth right now. So it could be a buyout candidate for that mention once this kind of industry really takes off, right? I could see this being a buyout case. They do everything
Well,
and then some, and they got a lot of patents. So the key when you're looking into this space, you got to understand the patent game. You got to understand the patent game.
yeah, just strange that it's just being like, if you just look at this chart versus you look at MindMeds, why it's being priced so shittily in comparison.
Dilution.
Right?
That's what it is. They've
Yeah,
diluted
that's
themselves
and that was going to be my point. One of the reasons I own MindMed versus the rest, like you
right away.
talked about with the intellectual property games, is they're using LSD instead of psilocybin, which is harder to create and therefore make your own offshoot of. And then also they've got $275 million worth of cash, so they've got cash runway for like 4 or 5 years. So if
Yeah.
you're getting into those things, then go. But no, it's not to go into it too much, but it's different from pot. Where pot, they want you to be able to walk into a store and buy it. This stuff they're going for FDA. So MindMed has phase 3 trials for generalized anxiety disorder. They're basically trying to replace SSRIs, and the idea is if they can replace SSRIs and do it better, there's just a lot of money to be had there because it's just a huge kind of unmet market. Whereas MSOS, which is one of the reasons I was interested in Jazz Pharmaceuticals, because I think with a lot of these names being prescribed by a doctor, especially for the older generation, there's more of a chance of kind of uptake than just saying, "Hey, weed's legal now. Have fun." Um, I know there's just so much stigmatized, especially for older people. In their youth, they were inundated all the time with this is like the worst thing in the world, and trying to get them, even if it's going to be better for their health. I think it's better if it's kind of FDA showed.
The
Another sector that
fun part, this has been around for, since ever, guys. It's just been illegal.
well that's part of the thing is if you hear the MindMed guy talk, he's like, listen, a lot of the beginning studies that we leaned on in order to build the company was based off stuff you guys did in like the 70s on
Yeah,
LSD, right? These
that's
studies have been
exactly it.
around. Like,
Yep.
we just went and did them. But also just the crypto space looking interesting here. So looking at WGMI, nice bounce, and so far it's holding that bounce. It's not substantial, but I want to just take a look around the horn here, because on the weekend and then today we had a pretty big bounce here in Bitcoin, again off of this kind of 110, 109, 110 level for Bitcoin. So this has been holding technically perfect, right? Prior high broke out, came back, and every time it's tested, it looks good. And then same with Ethereum.
Yeah, I was just
Really big
gonna say
bounce
that. It
yesterday.
looks really good, and I'm watching names in that right now: BMNR, SBET.
Yeah. And then I know Tack likes his Solana with his SOLT. That's bouncing as well, just across the board, getting a good bounce in the crypto space. So keep an eye there. I know you already mentioned Coin and Hood.
Mhm.
I'm still watching Mara just to see if it ever gets. This thing has been just glued to $17 for a year, but it has a huge short float. So if it can ever get going, I'd like to participate some, but it's got a 30% short float here. It just needs to get unstuck from 17. I don't know how they're going to do it. It's not a good business to be in, but uh, you got to figure out something. Another trade came through here, and an EFTY the bot picked up. I don't know what this thing is.
The UUUUU trade and USAR falling off today, so that one is telling me to be a little careful about minerals plays today's. So just being careful on those types of plays. Still no swing trade on for the week. I'm trying to be calm, a little bit calm. I feel like the seas were a little bit rough last week, and we really want to see where the sales take us, right? I'm looking for where the sales take us, right? So where does the bigger trend continue? And I think it's to the upside. I still think that, but I need to see it a little bit.
Well, plus we've got massive numbers soon,
Mm-hmm.
like tomorrow and the next day. And today kind of feels like, at least for now, right? We go take a look. I don't know why it keeps doing that. There we go. I want to take a look here on the SPY, and then you can see we haven't done anything. This is the opening price, and we've just been consolidating sideways. And that to me kind of makes sense, where we have, again, huge numbers tomorrow, and we've already done the gap today. So we tried to fade back into the gap a little bit. That failed. So now, I'm going to mark this low right here. And then if we're inside this low, and then the pre-market high is what we need to keep an eye on as well. But yeah,
Yeah,
it could
keep
be one of
losing
those.
altitude.
Yeah, the day could be done, right? And wow, the cues you can see relatively strong for sure. So that's where you want to take a look, is in your tech space.
Yep. I called it early for you guys. I was looking for that. And I think NVIDIA is a clear example, right? So you're looking for, like I talked about, would NVIDIA just make that rip? It made the rip right out the gates. So NVIDIA said, oh, what? Hey, you guys are scared of the AI trade? Oh, yeah, there it is. For all those headlines, there's
Yeah.
a nice 3% rip. And it's going towards resistance. Resistance is huge at 184 and 185. So that's one thing I will say about that NVIDIA trade. I'm seeing Tesla kind of start to really kind of fall off here, guys. So Tesla could be a
Yeah.
reverse trade, short. Could be a short here to play on TSLL. They had a gap up. That's the key here. So we just cracked 21. I was trying to get in there at that 21 break, but it was fast. So I need a slight bounce here above 21s. Can this come back to like, let's say 2120s or 2117s, and then I'll take a shot. I don't mind swinging Tesla a little bit short because I think it does make an attempt back to 400 at some point. And 400 could be a really good trade from here.
Yeah, well, if you look at what that is compared to the two, right? So Tesla is what 400 gets you back into this range. That would actually, if that happens, I think that's probably further downside because it means it tried to break out of this flag and just failed entirely. And you've made your way all the way back to the bottom of that range. That could continue.
There's a little gap to fill there between Friday, September 12th and 15th. I could see it going right into that gap and then trying to find some buyers. Right? It would have to depend there, but
that was the Elon buy, right? I think that's what
that's the incentive. Yeah, that's the incentive. I think it tests that area. It's just the way I look at it, right? Test the area, nothing crazy, but also don't want to bet too much to the downside too early, right? We really need to see leaks for this to happen, and with tech going up, is not the leak. If tech's going up, I'm not going to be betting too much to the downside. It just is an opening wash trade, right? We get these often. We've been getting these dips and recoveries. They're now starting to take a little bit longer towards 10 a.m. versus like that first 5 minute down and then all of a sudden right back up. So that's one thing I will say. Maybe starting to pay attention to your hourly down move instead of your 30-minute down move. So you look at the first 30 minutes to be down and then the hourly candle or the 30-minute candle to turn green is one way that I'm going to start looking at trades. RCAT still long it here, looking for the breakout above 1080s. Starting to get a little bit of that buying coming in there on RCAT. Let's see if they send it. I like UMAC off of this also. UMAC at their 1390s, trying to get going.
Yeah, so we have RSP actually just flipped negative just for a second there, showing the average large cap stock actually flat to down on the day. And then if you look across kind of the board here, we have IWM up a little bit, but it actually went negative for a second there as well. And then we have the Qs just ripping. So this is very much which is hilarious considering last week, that whole long Qs short IWM trade unwound a bit. And then this is the day that it's starting to work out, which is just poetic. Right? The second they were wrong, and got out from being wrong, that's where things will start to work in the way they wanted it to be. But
Right.
nice push.
Looking a lot better now as things start to push. This is when I can start taking a little bit more of that bet here, right? So I'm going to be looking for bets out there. AUR is one I'm looking at. SDML just pushed off that 710 spot. Don't want to miss this one, so I've been wanting to take the trade off the hourly. It's right in the throwback look off the 707, so here would be a risk off of 7. I'm going to take a swing here off SGML. But looking good here for RCAT to keep going. And then you can start taking a look at some other trades to start getting that strength right back in here. AMD looking really good. I can't chase that. I'm still looking for pullbacks. It's not far enough.
I'm watching here MSOX now that we have this pullback. Couldn't really take much from the gap at all. And now it looks like it's coiling back up. So just for my personal account, if we get back over 850 or so, I think that's where I'm going to punch in on, here we go, on an MSOX re-entry. And I had a great trade from it earlier. I'll take another little shot at that today.
Yeah, I like it here now that we recovered back above 8. Remember I told you they'd test that 8 again. That dip buyer is still there. 808's lined up. Let me see where he's lined up at. He's all the way lined up to 788s again. So he did take some more size here towards 8. So I think he's leveraged in as close as he can towards that $8 spot. And now it could get going. Yep, there's a 50 spike there. I like this. So I'm going to try to fill some in between here. I'm going to do 200 right off the stop. Like I'm long. It gave me a limit order, so it didn't fill it immediately. Let's get it up there. Got the starter fill there, and I'm going to look to add some down towards like 825s. So starter fill there, taking the shot.
Just a little get started here on. Again, this for me is a longer term swing, so I'm risking like into the gap. If the whole news with Trump just kind of falls apart entirely. Otherwise, I just like it for. I just like to see what happens if it gets back to or through. Grab it here where it was. You got to remember we have this big gap here when Trump got elected. So the second his election came through, we had this gap. Right? This happened on election day. Gap down from $7 on MSOX down to 5, and then just kind of completely fell apart. So that's kind of been my ultimate plan: is what happens when we get back above that, and we're now worth more than we were on election day, which is hilarious. I think we talked about last week how under Biden, coal did amazing, and under Trump, we have solar. We have solar and marijuana doing great. Just to show that none of these things matter when it comes to who the president is based off what you think it would be. Because I bet you if you had, okay, we have another Trump administration, what do you think is up this year? I don't think a lot of people would have solar and marijuana stocks on their bingo card, but here we are. So I will be interested to see, right, when these people are wrong. The people who took a short in this sector just based off of the fact that who was going to be president, when they start to be wrong, again, that could be just a cool little trade to make.
All right, let's see if MSOX can really start to get going here. It's up there towards the 870s here, guys. I'm trying to get ads on pullbacks, but this is starting to rip.
Let's see. So that's a new high day now.
Just added a little bit more.
See what happens. Maybe through pre-market high would be the next one. One second. I'm still here. I just got to turn off my camera for a second. I hate this. Every time I interact with brokers, I have to log back in. I have to use my phone.
I hate that. It's just like a safety check.
Yeah, I'd rather the small annoyance than someone be able to take all the money in my account, but it's annoying to say the least.
Yeah, that's why we just need more like biometrics on computers to just use the blockchain, bro, and that's it. They know who you are.
That's what WorldCoin's whole thing is, that you're not an AI.
You're not AI, bro? MSOX is looking good here. I'm just looking for pullbacks to add, man. If not, and just let it continue to rip. Look how the spoof ordering is moving up now to the 864s, 856, 852s. And it's such a BS 10,000 share order, bro. Like, it's just crazy. This is why I like to show you guys this so you can see it, man. Like, look how it's on the sell side, too. It's the same algo, just like I'm gonna buy it, I'm gonna spit it, I'm gonna buy it here, and I'm gonna spit it back to you right here. Do you see how like the laddering here? This is I laugh about it, man, but it's just like some traders don't even pay attention to this or know that this exists. This is an algo just playing with you. It's like I'll buy 10,000 here, I'm gonna sell it to you right here, 20 cents higher. I'm gonna buy it, I'm gonna sell it. I'm gonna buy it, I'm gonna sell it. I'm gonna buy it, I'm gonna sell it. And it's just ping-ponging and make money in between there. That's not humans doing that. That's all I can say. That's not humans.
Well, and that's the right. That's what market makers and market maker bots do. Is right. They don't care if it goes up or down. They want to make on both sides of the play and grab liquidity wherever it can, and flip it back out, and then the big difference with them and us, you got to remember, is they're paid to place trades. Right. If
Oh
you're a
yeah.
market maker, and especially if you're adding liquidity like that, we can go into kind of maker taker fees and all that, but yeah, it's just very common that these guys they get paid. I used to do it when I was back at the other prop firm. I had many days where I would walk away net or gross even, and net make a couple bucks because I
Yeah.
was negative commissions at the end of the day.
MSOX still holding in well. We'll look to see if it takes 9 on the next step up. I think it might take 9 and make a run here. We'll see if it gets it. Market finally pulling back a good amount there.
Good. Yeah, the SPY here. Yeah, SPY is holding strong. Qs are looking to make new highs. IWM relatively weak, but holding as well. And then RSP trying to coil up as well. So it looks like across the board, we had a little bit of a pullback. Now we're kind of coiling, potentially moving a little bit higher here.
Qs didn't even make it back to VWAP. That just shows you how strong this tech move really is, guys. I think we got to continue to watch this and try to trade it because it could run away from you really quickly. That's why I like Microsoft. Microsoft finally broke that 515 again, and that to me just looks prime for a trade here. So I'm looking to try to trade Microsoft, and I'm trying to trade MSFU.
You gotta love anything with an FU in the ticker.
I gotta say, I like that. I don't know about you. It made me more excited. All right, guys. So the key here is that this one is like definitely 9 EMA attempt here off the 5160. So I'm going to take the smallest share size here and look for this to really work. The key is that I can't let it risk too much down, right? So I need to get a pullback in this. If I could get a pullback, it would make more sense to risk off the bottom action. But I'm a little bit of ways away from the VWAP 5140s. Let's see what happens there. The Microsoft just pushing really well. I need some type of pullback. Don't want to chase there. It's a little bit too high up at 5180s.
Yeah, well, the SPY hit new highs for the day, trying to break out here. Still a really tiny body candle, and not too much going on today. But Q's looking quite a bit better. Q's flirting with all-time highs. It's 602.50 roughly is all-time highs there on the Q's, and then IWM getting close as well. Again, that 1.5% bear market got so many bears so excited in return for nothing. Couldn't get anything going. Right?
Nothing. I ain't getting nothing.
Is that all you can do? 1.5%.
All right, things are starting to look a lot better, guys. SGML is not going to be my bet in the swing. I'm going to start taking some of that now. Take a $30 bet here. Boom. Long on SGML off the $7 spot where it hasn't even touched today. So actually, I'll risk down to the 710. I'll give it just the 11 cents there.
Yeah, I still have just this EFTY, which again, no idea what this thing is, but it's been ripping, whatever it is. Commercial services, whatever, but got a buy there at 13, and then this, what was the other one? SKYT short on this guy, making a little bit of money there. So just 2 trades, really light Monday. I can generally always tell with my bot because I'm doing everything the second day. Like I always talk about, I like the second day play. So I have everything already set up before and just raring to go. So I don't need to do I always know how many names I could potentially trade each night. In this case, on Friday, I knew on Friday that this would be a slower day.
A name that has taken off that I don't have it this time around is the Holy Grail stock. Or at least I've been talking about it. GRAL. Look at that takeoff. That was on last week's playbook, right on the breakout day towards the 48. Never got it that day, and it hasn't looked back, guys. Big breakout there in that stock. That's why I like Tempest today. It's doing pretty well off of that 81 break. So those two I like to trade when they're working.
Yeah, this Tempest, this kind of $80 high has just been $80
Really
to $90.
Really pesky.
Brick wall. Just means that when it gets through, I think I remember this having a pretty decent short float as well, right? I think I was looking at this when Pelosi picked it up. Yeah, 27% short, and they haven't been budging the whole time. So a pretty good short float if that thing can grind higher here.
MSOX pulling back towards that 850 spot now. All right.
Yeah, this is 100% right tack. We talk about it all the time. Another problem with liquidity is retail traders place stops in obvious places. That's the problem, right? Things like high days, low days, that kind of thing. Looks good. And then you're asking about ETHE. Well, I just, instead of looking at that, I always just look at the currency as a whole. And it's funny. Pop a VWAP right there. We came right back to the VWAP from that all-time low and then bounce. So
I got a CBD name for you moving.
Oh, what's going on?
Why CBD?
They actually do CBD? Oh, okay. That makes sense. Yeah.
CBD stock moving.
Oh, it's one of these things. Let's see. Yeah. Just needs to get back to $2,000 a share. There you go.
Well, Beyond Meat's moving too, so they're looking in as junky as it gets out there in the penny stock game.
That's the thing. You get a big news event like that. You kind of lean on that as hard as you can and try to get some continuation or movement with that and try to look for sympathy plays and
took a hit there, an RCAT there, so down pretty significant amount there on the day trading account. But hey, that's why I use my evals to get me the feel of the market. And then wait till I get that feeling that I want to take a step up on the live account, right? So
whatever an RITR is, I took a short on that.
All right, starting to see some pullbacks there.
Logitech. So I got 2 shorts and a long, about even-ish today.
Want to see if LAC can recover 6 here, but if it can't, I'll probably let go of also SGML.
Oh, with MindMed ripping like this, it's been a good day. It's a good day. Good day to be uncomfortably long something up.
There's Tempest breaking new highs. And there's your MSOX looking really good here for the breakout above towards the 9 there, guys. It looks pretty good.
Yeah, now that I got it right, I've got my stop in at under 7, so it's a pretty wide one. This is a wake me up at the end of the week. And this isn't like a long-term investment. Again, I think all these companies are crap, but this is a, give me one good day.
Yeah. It doesn't look bad at all there, guys. That MSOX talked about look for undercuts of 8. You got the slight undercuts of 8. It's been going right back up, right? Gave you the play here. Hope somebody out there nailed it. FLNC now starting to get hit there. I was actually looking to see if that one would get hit. I kind of like that quick dip there like that. That's where you can wash them. This trade has been really strong, so we'll see what happens now if it just starts just bidding down, That, of course, would be a market downturn here, but all right, I'm pretty close to getting out on Sigma Lithium. I'm going to risk to the 707, which is $42. I'm setting the stop and forgetting about it. Now I'm looking at FLNC as a potential short, and that is dropping like I talked to you guys. It's like bid, 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 bid. That's where it's like you have to chase if you wanted the action there. I would have been getting in at the 1220s, already up 20 cents.
Oh, there is some crypto news here. Binance launches crypto as a service, whatever that means.
Whatever that means.
End-to-end infrastructure solution tailored for large regulated financial institutions. Oh, okay, so they're doing like their own stable coin kind of thing, right?
Yeah, big long probably getting hit on FLNC, 17,000 shares covering at 1208.
Yeah, BMNR, interesting here. Gap up, holding, looking more and more like Ethereum.
Yeah, that one's a hard one to take bets for or against, right? I mean,
And SBET looks a little bit easier to trade here.
yeah, it definitely looks easier to trade because it's near the bottom. I like stocks near the bottom more than stocks that are just hanging out in the middle. It's a tough one to trade. MSOS itself, I think it's trading a little bit easier just to put it out there. If you're trying to trade MSOX and you're finding it a struggle because of the spread and the way that it's trading there, I would take a look at MSOS, which is trading a little tighter and might give you the ability to manage it a little bit better, right?
Yeah,
Sometimes you got to look at the liquidity.
if you're, and remember, liquidity scales with time frame, right? The
Yep.
shorter your time frame, the more you should really value very liquid instruments. The reason I was fine with it is because, again, I'm looking to hold this for a couple weeks, right? Target up here is all the way at like if we close that gap, that's $40. That would be a 4 times. So obviously a very small position, 'cause on a percentage basis, I'm risking like 25-30%, right? So obviously that's a smaller position, because if you're risking 30% or so, you're not going to put a large percentage of your account in it. But if I'm right, then that's going to be like a 300-400% gainer.
Yeah, FLNC, I'm struggling here to take the trade because it's definitely a chase now, and then it looks good. Looks good for kind of a day trade swing off of like kind of the 1250 area or 13. But you got to kind of understand that I would love a move back above 1215 here. I'm willing to short.
FLNC actually popped up on my one of my algos. If it gets down to 11, that's where the system will buy it for a swing. So
Okay.
obviously a big cut from there.
Yeah,
Or
that's
from
where
where
I
we
would
are
be
now.
looking to sell it to you, right?
Yeah, that's
So
the
I think like 1076 would be my target on the downside. But that's just the perspective, right? Short-term EMA, and looks like Michael's bot would buy that EMA.
yeah. This is it's an AV WAP system, but it's probably lined up around the same
Yeah, similar
place. Yeah.
areas, right? All right, rejecting there to get back above 1210s. The key is there's a big seller that got caught there, and I think there was a big 17,000 shares that were covered for profits, more than likely. As it broke back towards 12, they're like, you know what? All right, this is getting good. This had gotten to 13, and they didn't take profits. Now they see it go back to 12. They start to freak out, right? They had such big size. The trade was looking so great. Now the trade not looking so great, right? That can happen real quick. ACB, cannabis stock that is faking a rip out right now. That one might squeeze. It's off the 570s. We'll look to see if it gets going. That one's a little bit better than the other ones, but really they're all pretty bad.
Yeah, they are.
But the daily chart looks a little bit better. I will say the daily chart, if I just focused in, it looks a little bit better.
Yeah, they are. They're all junk.
They're
Like
all junk.
all of them. It's one of
Well,
those, right?
there's the OTC ones. There's like maybe one or two that I would tell you are junk if you really look inside of them, but they're OTC, so it doesn't really matter.
Well, yeah, and that's that's been part of the narrative with the with legalization and everything like that, is that there's just a lot of large institutions that might just want a small piece of these companies, and they're just not allowed, right? Because
Yeah,
they're not allowed to buy and trade OTC markets. Because they're not allowed, then they just have to sit out of them. So they may actually want exposure to some of these names, but they're just legally not allowed to do it. So yeah, that's one of the biggest proponents that I see from a lot of these people is just say, okay, well, kind of like they've been saying with crypto, if crypto becomes where people are going to put 1% of their net worth into crypto, well, 1% of the net worth multiplied by the amount of people that can do it becomes a pretty big deal.
Yeah, SPY looks heavy here, guys. I'm going to actually start looking for potentials here to look at like shorts. I mean, it just looks like, the 15-minute is just sitting there. I think we got to wait for like one more 15-minute candle here. This is going to be a telling sign, guys, because you just have a lot of fake outs on this on both sides. And that wick, that last wick to 665 on the 15 is very vital. If we can get back to 665, I think we're good. If not, we could just start trickling down here.
Yeah, it's kind of all across, it's chop all across the board, except that kind of opening drive on the Qs, right? We're back into the range of pretty much everything here. So like we talked about, it's a hard deal to be chasing this market and to kind of be chasing gains right now. So, just be careful, right? It's just, I don't think it's the time. I don't think it's the time to really be chasing price.
All right, just looking for a trend channel to kind of break out back above on SGML. If it could get back above towards the 730s, I'll be looking good on the swing. But watching it out there, watching it. There's a SPY right back above VWAP. It's just flirting. I think we need to wait to see if it takes it in any direction, really.
Yeah, this might be one where you just kind of mark opening range at this point. You say, okay, well, we're hour and a half into the day. So you grab like an hourly candle. Yeah, we haven't closed the first hourly candle yet. And you just, do I'll just come over here. Right? You just mark this, right? The high and low of the first hour. And you say, set alerts or orders or whatever it is. If we break that opening hours range, then potentially look to the short side. If we break it to the upside, then we look over there as well and just say between those two times, I just understand that we are in chop zone. I don't really want to be risking too much of either side of those.
Thinking about this FLNC short, I keep battling a little bit on it. I think I'm going to do it with just a short leash. Yeah, I'll do it with a short leash. So short there, some FLNC on the swing. I'm going to do it off the 1220 spot here and look for this to be kind of immediate gratification, straight down through 12 and hit hard. So 2 trades on, a long and a short. Set myself up for potentially one of these trades working and getting into my favor. One's an FLNC short side, one's an SGML long side. You can see here on the hourly, the SGML kind of set up here. If you look at it on the hourly, you can see how we've kind of broken above this kind of flag pattern, right? Looking for this to kind of hold and get back up there. Above the 740s would be kind of the breakout in SGML. But what I need on that one is an LAC comeback, right? Because I feel like if LAC really gives up here, SGML will probably give it up also. FLNC now starting to get into the green immediately. That's kind of what I want to see. And now I want to see it just drop like a tank. We'll see what happens out there, guys. Let's keep getting after it. Definitely some different trades moving out there. So just keep trying to find where the strength is, where it's not. Definitely not where it's at.
Yeah, I just keep sorting my lists here just to see
what's leading, what's not.
What's leading, what's lagging, and it's just so far it's just all been the same.
Clean sparking it, man. Clean sparking it.
Yeah, WGMI has been doing amazingly.
And Hood, no comebacks on that. That SBET's still holding in there. Tells me that it's not bad for crypto day. ETHU holding in still after a gap up. So they're holding in there. BTBT pushing off a 3 there. Just to give another small name that's holding in well. I just don't like. I don't know. It's just not enough return for me. But BTBT, the chart looks good.
Well, and this is the right. So we take a look at. Well, there's the SPY, but I did on another chart. Right. So if you just look at Bitcoin, the actual coin, this is a daily chart or 1 hour chart. So we've just been ripping ever since the open, non-stop here on Bitcoin. Ethereum, right, doing a little bit better, but yeah, Bitcoin's really been king here as we get back over this kind of 114 area, and then see potentially make shots here at or near. And are we gonna run back to the 120? Don't think that'd surprise anyone. So yeah, nice look overall here in the crypto world. Even if we go kind of down the cap scale to Solana, that sold off a little bit off the open, but now is hanging out right back near highs. So across the crypto space. So the theme of today, I guess, is weed and crypto. So there's our title for the stream: weed and crypto. And get all the real degens in here.
Yep. Holding it tight on FLNC. I'm seeing a little spike there in BE, so I'm going to take a tight stop out here if it does start to come back against me here. Like I said, this one needs to be quick sweep down, kind of like stuff the bulls type of trade. We'll see what happens here.
Yeah, sectors that are to the downside. We talked a lot about oil, right? Continuing its sell. Everything here is kind of oil related, right? The rare earths are down, or at least the ETF. NLR kind of barely holding on, considering how strong everything else has been. And then rest of these things, shipping, banks, KRE is down 1%. That's a pretty big move. XHB, a lot of interest rate sensitive stuff seems to be down today. So I don't know if there's a number that changed that outlook, but don't leave out Tesla.
SMR pullback, trying to get bought up there towards the 40. We'll see if it breaks out above 40s. That's one name that I'll put out there. Got cut out of the FLNC. Looking at that SMR, if I take that, it would be a really small bet to like see if it goes flying. Yeah, let's take a little bet here. The way that SMR flies, I'm willing to take a little bet here. So I'm taking 30 shares, something really small that I feel like I can manage a little bit here. And then I can give it like, $25 or $30 down towards the bottom and let this type of work. Right? So we'll look to see what happens here. SMR, look to see if it gets going. Really would like to see it get quickly into the green and then just push towards the 40, and then I'm good and I could risk off like 39s and just leave it there for the rest of the day. So of course, what did I talk about? Like looking for what types of themes would take the move today. So I'm looking to see if now we all of a sudden we get like CEG higher, GEV higher, OKLO higher, OKLO starting to lead. So OKLO, of course, had a huge rip out last week, back down to the 9 EMA, and it could fill the gap right back, right? Like it could play that ping pong style of trade. So we'll see what happens here. Does it start to like push here and really just start to lead the party? NNE would be another move to look at, right? If it starts to push.
Yeah, that OKLO was pretty nuts, and I think pretty shorted too. So there's probably a lot of people that got 17% or so short. So probably a lot of people had a bad time, bad day on that one. Let's talk about CoreWeave. Yeah, it's still an inside day, but bouncing a little bit there. My MSOX has just done nothing. Looking for a little bit of momentum today. It's wild that we're seeing more momentum from the psychedelic space than we are from the marijuana space, even though the marijuana was the one talked about.
Remember, the first hour of the day. They might just try to get the first hour of the day traders out the way, and then watch for the algos to take control. Remember, there's an algo that seems to have control of the stock right now. So I would wait to start seeing that action almost flow away, almost like where you start seeing just some continued type of lift. Another name that had a lot of options trading, AUR. I'm just keeping it on watch. Nothing that I want to trade right now, but just I like to put names on radar so that later in the day, if for some reason this stock went 30 or 40%, you guys wouldn't be like, "Oh no, Mitch never mentioned AUR." This had a lot of option volume on Friday, but it kind of got stuffed into the move. So looking to see if it gets going above 6. I would only really kind of watch it above 6.
Yeah, that's always an interesting data point that I want to look more at, is those unusual call and put sweeps that happen right before. Like, I'm sure you saw the one on EA. There was like one dude that turned the day before, bought some options on EA, and then turned, what was it, 20 grand into $1 million.
Yep.
And it's like, okay, because if you are going to make insider information bets, you're going to do it in the options market where the return is just worth it. Like, it has to be worth it. If you're, I'm not going to risk jail time for like a double. I want to, if I'm risking jail time, I want like a 10,000% gain.
All right, guys, looking at RCAT here. I got stopped out of this on the day trade, but I might take it on the swing. It looks good for a break of 11 and then higher. Daily chart would put it back towards like 11, 50s, and 12s. So that's why I like it, the kind of the risk to return. I'm already missing some of it talking about it. Let's figure this out here. It's kind of hard, man. I've already missed now 15 cents just talking about it. That's why sometimes I feel like, man, I should just take the trade and then tell you guys. But I usually like to explain it a little bit before I'm just jumping in right back in. So I'll look for a comeback towards like 1080s here, but it might not come back. It might just break 11 and go. RCAT looking good after that 1065 dip down through the 1060s. So I'm looking for reloads at 1085s and 1080s here.
Yeah, Intel looked nice.
Intel, man. Intel.
EA price
you know what
targeted.
I think about Intel, man?
What is it? EA price target lower? Isn't it a buyout? Like, doesn't your price target not matter anymore because it's getting bought? Like, what poor guy, what poor intern do they have on the desk rating EA after it's been bought out? Like, here, we don't have any work for you to do, so find a fair value for EA and give us a price target, and just ignore the fact that it has a price target because that's what it's going private at. So, some poor analyst.
That's why I didn't do that job. There was plenty of guys that I was looking left to right in finance, and they were like, I want to be an analyst. I was like, dude, you just want to say that you want to be a lemming?
Yeah. The only way, it's a good like starter position, but it's not something you'd want to spend any time in. You get it and make your connections and then get out.
It's not for me, man. I'm not about looking at the email in the morning and being like, this is how I have to tell everybody to invest. Just not my cup of tea.
We have September Dallas Fed manufacturing down a bunch. I don't know. The market seems to like it, whatever it is. Look at all these
SMR
wicks.
looking well, working well now, guys. So
this craziness on the 15-minute chart of the SPY. This is just wild action.
There's a push in SMR. Now the question is, do I just leave it on, break even, 39? I'll probably do 39 to give it a little room here, but it needs to make big moves for it to pay me. So we'll see what happens there in SMR if it just sends off through 40.
Yeah, SPY is starting to grind back higher here a little bit. But yeah, just hard stuck in that range. Take a look at the Qs.
A lot of things are stuck in their range.
sometimes that happens, right? You get the move happened overnight, right? So now it's people digesting and reevaluating. Some poor guy running running the numbers on bought out companies to find price targets. Oh, he's saying that was an announcement before the announcement. He put that out. So man, was he wrong? Because not only you have to put out an estimate right before a buyout, but he downgraded them. So literally the next day, yeah, this company's going down for sure, and the next day it gets bought out for what? Yeah, 21% higher.
You know how that one works. Someone had a position against it. Well, I'm gonna say who it was. Probably somebody out there had a position against it, and they were like, "Well, what can I do to get some research on this company?"
Jeez, Hood's up 7% now.
I saw that right out the
Look at
gates,
that,
man.
just
That was just
nuts.
it. Just looked like everything else was holding up, and the Hood was just like, "I want to go, I want to go, I want to go, I want to go," and it's all the big things that they're
Under.
introducing, the banking, dude. It's a crazy app now. Vlad's taking it to another level, and it's gonna continue, man. I don't think this is gonna turn around. To think that this stock was $10, guys. Think that it was 10.
And when it was 10, the only narrative on it was, oh, they'll get bought out for something. Goldman Sachs will come along and buy them
I
out.
mean, but even then, it was not. It was a good target for that investment. Like, say if you made it for that investment, you're not looking bad about it now, Michael. You're just like, oh well, I thought it was gonna get bought out, but now it's just a
Yeah.
high flyer. Right? And so I think that's sometimes you got to take those shots, right? I think everyone was saying that narrative, but only few took the shot, and only few wrecked the benefits of taking that type of approach, right?
That's why these low bases can be just so powerful, is that
Exactly.
you can just hang out, and then the beauty of it is if you were wrong. So if you bought the breakout of this low base at 15 and you put a stop under 10, and you just okay.
There's one name that I was looking at a bet like this too, which is Rivian. It still hasn't gone, but
Yep.
I was telling myself
I've
below 10, and it never got there. Really, it's like trickled below 10 one time. But ever since then, it's been kind of holding in there well. So those types of bets, you got to take them sometimes.
Well, and that's what I've got on Rivian. I've got like $18. I've got a price target out there, so it will just yell at me because I'm looking at the same thing. If this ever breaks 18, I'm just gonna take a chunk into it and throw it into it and risk 50% of my money or something on it. And if it becomes another Robinhood and gets back to highs, I was totally okay that I didn't catch the exact bottom, right? That I bought it at 18, and if it's ever at 200 again. All these companies that went public or de-SPACed in 2021 and just murdered people. Well, the ones that didn't die are very, very interesting here, right?
Yeah. We're getting names to hold on here, so I'm looking for another little rip and rally here. Since Hood is doing so well, maybe Coin finally gets going a little bit back above the 350s, but looking around out there, even MSTR is in the green. Should tell us something.
But yeah, crypto is still getting the rip on here. Struggling with 14,000 even on Bitcoin. And almost back to that 420 here on Ethereum. So this is only gonna light the fire under Hood as we crack the new all-time highs here. And then our WGMI.
SPY, remember I said earlier that 665 recovery would be important? It's just crazy. The wicks just go right to it and then just stop. That 665 is being pesky. And this Fluent that I got out earlier, it won't even get back above where that big short, where that big order like kind of got out of. So this could still go down. The thing is that BE was already starting to fall on the daily. So keeping a close eye. That could be an attempted trade there within itself. It's one of those days where it's just getting a little slowish around this time, right? And so just goes to show you, maybe riding the bets that are working right now makes the sense, right? Just riding bets that are working than making new bets, because right now it just seems like market's waiting on something here. RCAT looking good there, guys. Held that 1080 pullback. Now looking for the breakout above 11s here. Doesn't look bad, but might take like a 200 share bet there. $20 bet, right? This looks really good for the 11 break here, technically wise. I got out of it on the day trade. I'll take the swing. This is what I do sometimes too. I'm like, the day trade just didn't work out. Maybe my timing was off, and my timing could be right now, right? And so sometimes it's about timing in trades, right? You could have just been early to the bet, right? So looking to see if it can break that 11 here in a quick motion. Back above 11s, I can go break even and just let it kind of work. That's this type of trade. This type of trade should go banging up there towards 12 in a hurry.
Looking here, yeah, home builders really taking it on the chin today in comparison to everything else, along with KRE, which is just small regional banks, just almost a bearish engulfing here in that area. So this is showing that interest rates must be fluctuating here pretty hard. They don't like it, those guys, when the interest one's going on. Tax saying he loves Hood's management team. Well, you can't not love their management team when the stock's gone from $7 or up 1,500% in like 2 years. They're firing on all cylinders, it looks like.
Yeah, and then now that the shorts are available, people can start taking them as a little bit more serious brokerage, and the one-stop shop, banking, the Robinhood Gold card. There's just so many things that I think are working for Hood right now.
Well, that's what they need. You know, they launched and their
SMR.
whole thing was SMR. Yeah, their
SMR.
whole thing was, let's be easy and pretty and right, make people open up accounts, and then it's like, okay, now that we got them, let's give them a bunch of stuff to
All right.
play on.
There's that SMR breakout. Now I just go break even and just let it ride. This is why I took the small share size, because the thing is, it's a rocket ride, and now it's on that rocket. So I'll just ride the rocket now. And we never know where SMR can stop. This could fly all the way up to 42, 43, 45s by the end of the day. Who knows? So I'm good on that position, up about almost 2% now, and just let it go. Do I wish I would have had more size? Yes, but the problem is the risk was big there too. Is that right off the top, I was kind of chasing, and when I chase, if I'm gonna get in it, I need to give it that big room. So good move there.
So this is interesting. I just saw a tweet, so take it for what you will, but FTX will distribute $5 billion in stable coins to users tomorrow. So that could be our run up in the crypto space if people are kind of preempting the bet that people are going to turn those stable coins into other cryptocurrencies as opposed to turning those stable coins into cash. Because I think that's how everything's getting distributed back to them, is with Circle. I think one of those stable coins. So the idea is that, you know, if all of a sudden you've been waiting for years to get your money back from this, and you end up getting, you know, a big chunk, you get like 10 grand or whatever, you just take that and plow it into Bitcoin and say, okay, you know, I can get back into the crypto game, but we'll see.
It is a weird one today, guys. It's one of those days where I don't feel like making many bets. I'm tightening down.
Well, the SPY is just like range bound, landlocked at this point. Just stuck between what the high is,
Landlocked would be the word.
655, and 650. So it's got like a 1.5 range for the entire day. And we know why, right? We don't need to bet on whys, because tomorrow we've got Jolt's jobs opening, which is a pretty big deal, right, for the job side of things. And then ISM manufacturing on Wednesday, and then non-farm payrolls and the unemployment rate on Friday. So, and ISM services PMI. So we got, a pretty action-filled week, but just not today. We've got some on Tuesday, some on Wednesday, nothing on Thursday, and then a whole bunch on Friday. So could be one of those, you trade that open, right? You get that opening move like we saw there on the Qs, and a lot of those things, you look for that opening drive, you take that opening drive, and then you kind of say, okay, now let me wait until some news event happens, right? Oh, and then, I forgot about that. A possible government shutdown tomorrow as well. So makes a lot of sense. Things are, it's the big guys are like, I'm going to take a little pause today.
Government shutdown.
They keep saying it, and they do it. And it's, I think I think we did this last time, but it's like 100% of government shutdowns are good for stocks. So, shut her down. I don't live there.
Shut it down, man. I don't even know what the hell that does, because they keep telling me it, and it comes and nothing happens. So shut it down. I don't care.
What they had, I think the longest one.
That means there's no school? The kids will love it.
Yeah. I think there's just no. They did it under Trump.
All right,
last
just
time.
add it on RCAT there, guys. It's starting to push there, so it just gave it a little quick add. Now I want to see it really move above this 1110s. If not, get out right underneath here. Like I can give it like to 1095s or something like that.
SPY perking up just a little bit.
1095s is what I'm giving it. I got to go protect SGML. SGML doesn't want to get going, and it's just kind of struggling here. LAC is like right there. It could recover 6 at any moment, so I'm trying to hang in there, but right now it's not looking the best.
There, so I've got my assistant working on that government shutdown thing. But yeah, the longest one, as it says, was Trump last term. The market ripped, and the fact that none of you guys that live in the States can seem to remember it means it wasn't that big of a deal. They were shut down for a month or something, I think, in the last one.
Yeah.
So it's like, well, it's like up here, our postal service goes on strike every 3 days, and nobody notices. I think they're on strike again. It's like, you guys know that strikes don't work if nobody cares that you're gone. Like,
yeah, that's the only way they work, man. It's like walkouts. Well, no one really cares, dude, because so just go get some other employments and stuff like that, or protest right now against ICE. Well, dude, it's not gonna get you anything, man. It's gonna get you a gas mask.
Yeah. So I've got Perplex. You guys can see I'm using the Comet browser. So far, I like it. It's like Chrome, but they've taken a lot of junk out of it anyway. So it seems faster than Chrome.
RCAT just can't get going. It got to the 11, got to the buys. A lot of buying came in there. It just doesn't want to push.
So we're grinding up here on the SPY. We're getting close to today's high again. Makes me think that as we're getting later in the day, we're getting closer to, when we take off and when a lot of robots kind of pick up, that maybe that's when we break and start to grind a little bit higher.
YCBD, baby.
That thing's still ripping.
I
Oh, Jesus. Yeah.
It's another one that's moving today. BQ. I have no idea what the hell it does, but BQ. It's BBQ. It's barbecue, baby. That barbecue stock. You tried to barbecue today?
What about one day?
Man.
Yeah, hit the SPY. SPY
Come on,
grinding,
Arcat.
not doing.
Just doesn't want to go, man.
So for me, it's been only the 3 trades. The bot just right short of this SKYT. That's working a little bit. This RITR. That's working a little bit. And then bought this EFTY, which is down a little bit. So
The
about a
BQ.
do nothing day.
The
I'll
BQ.
take
I
it.
talked about it and it started to rip. Someone was watching the show. BQ, baby.
Jeez. All right, who are you guys? More
I have no
info.
idea. No idea.
Overview.
Dropping the stop there, 1098, guys. I'm done with RCAT. It's just like go or no go, go or no go, go or no go. All right, the ticking time bomb's taking off. You need to just go now.
Online pet stores in China. That's what
There
this
you
is.
go. So
So
it's
of
the
course that makes
Chewy of China. I got you. The Chewy of China. That's what you got to say on your Twitter today to get all the
hauls
feeds.
it up.
This is what you call China, but it's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay. You can make money on it.
You just have a plan. Have a plan to get out.
That's it, my friend. That's what it's always about, right? Just like right now, I got RCAT starting to push there. I don't know if it's gonna keep going. It might get me out. There, it's trying. It's trying. It's gonna get me. It's gonna get me. There it goes. It got me.
This God, I love perplexity. So I just asked it that question about the shutdowns. I didn't even ask for a chart, and it just gave me a chart. So this is the if the government shuts down, this is kind of what you expect to happen. So most of these look like they're 2 to 4 days.
Mm-hmm.
But if you look at the last one, so what 2018 to 2019, there's 35 days. That was by far the longest. And look at this. Look at the market just ripped 10% when the during the shutdown that was closed. And then before that, all the recent ones, the last 5 recent ones have all been positive. The rest of these I really wouldn't count because they were just down for a few days. But
There's FLNC breaking 12, going towards the 1180s, and it looks like it's starting to crumble.
yeah, so hopefully they shut down the government for 35 days again, because then the market can rip another 10%. That'd be great. I'd love that. Everyone would be so mad on Twitter. It just started going up every day. It's a question: are we going to be here daily? We are here daily from Monday to Thursday, starting at
Yeah.
9 Eastern and then going till 11 Eastern. And then on, Tuesdays and Thursdays, you get another 2 lovely looking gentlemen come in to pass the torch and carry it for a little bit longer.
And don't forget, of course, guys, we do have the competition on Trade the Pool. Check it out, guys. If you haven't checked out Trade the Pool, I don't know how you made it here, but if you did make it here, of course, check out our competition, guys. Our competition's coming right up, guys. Beat the Ackman, guys. Who wants to beat Ackman? Well, we're going to be competing against his portfolio, of course, that's known by the 13Fs, and we'll be battling, and it starts on the 8th. So I would, of course, sign up this week. Don't wait till next week and then look to sign up. Definitely go ahead and sign up today. Go to tradethepool.com and find it out. Link up, guys. And I want to see you guys in the competition. Of course, last time we got close to the top 10. We're going to be pushing to do it again right here live in front of you guys. We'll see what happens out there. RCAT still trying to get going. Got me out there, and then who knows? Maybe it finally gets going above 11. The stock of the day, though, definitely AMD, man. That's how she is to me, man. When she wants to go, she doesn't like to let me in a lot, and there she goes, looking great on the daily now. Right, so now is when you'll start to see all the bulls start talking about AMD. I like to talk about it on days like this where you got that kind of like chop, and now you can get the breakout, because if you're in now at 161, this breaks 167 or 169, you're like, I'm in position of control. That's why I like to get in a little bit early of those trades, but they're looking good now.
I just looked at Ackman's position there while you're talking. 20% of his holdings are Uber. So
Uber.
he's been
Yep, it's Uber.
murdering it on that.
And Uber's been
Uber's been
an
great.
absolute great trade and going to continue being a trade in the autonomous drive. It's the one trade in autonomous drive that I got wrong. I will say that. It's the one trade that I didn't think of how it would actually help them, and it will help them. It will create even stronger margins for them in the long run.
Yeah, because I just when I land somewhere, I pick up the app, I hit the Uber button. Like I don't care if there's a person there or not, right? I'm just gonna keep hitting the Uber button. It's one of those more of it's harder to change. So that and Brookfield Corporation, BN, those two together are 40% of his portfolio. So if we're
Yeah,
looking to beat them,
I was gonna tell you, what am I using when I get into Toronto? I guess it's Uber.
Uber, yeah. If you land at Toronto Pearson, if that's where you're landing,
Yeah, I
just
think that's
follow the
the
signs.
major one, right? It's
Follow the signs to the U train.
the U train.
Um, yeah, it's like $10. It links right from the airport and goes right to basically our version of Union Station, right? The hub. And
Okay.
then you're in the middle of the city and you don't have to worry about taking an Uber into the city. And then the TV office, if you're up for a walk, it's like a 30-minute walk, or you just take a 10-minute Uber up.
Not a worry. At least I get in on Sunday. So get in on
You got
Sunday.
the
We'll get ready to go. And I don't know. I might check out the
yeah.
museum. I don't know. We'll see.
Museum of Natural History is good if you can. It's a little pricey, but you can go up in the CN Tower, and
Yeah, I
if
was
you're
thinking
okay
about
with
it. Maybe if I
heights,
catch the sunrise. If I catch the sunrise, not the sunrise, the sunset there. It depends on
yeah,
what time I get to the hotel. But we'll
it's
see what's
good.
up.
When I was in Toronto last week, I went to I did that. The poor cameraman that was with us, deathly afraid of heights. I thought he was gonna die.
Yeah, if you're afraid of
It's
heights, you're gonna feel it. You're gonna feel it a little bit,
yeah,
especially on like the windows that are like kind of inclined. Just try
yeah.
to lay on one,
It's
right?
it's trippy again because you just it's real high, right? And it's
Oh
everything's
yeah.
kind of like built away so that you feel it in your guts. So
Oh yeah, you're gonna feel it. You're gonna feel it. Like being up there is not for everybody. Ion
no.
Q coming down. Seems like that was a good bet last week, man. That was one of those bets that I kept like getting caught shorting and still not winning. Like I shorted Ion Q like 3 times last week and just couldn't get it. But it was a good bet. And that's how it goes sometimes, guys. Just goes to show you that you got to be a little smaller, give it that room. But it was a really good bet. It did turn. And the
Yeah,
market is just on pause, and the VIX is what's getting
I
the move.
know.
The VIX is going higher and higher with this, and that gives me a little bit of an uneasy feeling. But that's just life, right? We'll see what happens here, guys, to see what's
Well,
the
and
next move.
yeah, and I think a lot of that VIX move is just people taking rightfully so a big bet into tomorrow with all of the economic numbers, potential shutdown, all this kind of stuff is like, okay, let's buy up some puts here. Let's do a little bit of protection against our portfolio, even though the markets aren't moving. And that will kind of create this where we have okay, this is I want to cover some things. I want to be able to be okay, and if there's some sort of pullback tomorrow, kind of have those puts. Now I don't know, maybe it'll happen today after we end here because so far since we've been here, it's not too much. Right? It's very hard to do individual trading when the overall market doesn't. The wind's not at your back. It's not in front of you. There's no volatility. Yeah, it gets hard, right?
Yeah, here comes SMR coming right back down. So this is just, I think, the way it's going to be today. I think we're going to be battling between it. And now the SPY actually trickling down puts me on alert there, guys. So I'll be watching to see what happens out there. RCAT dropping fast there. Just looking around out there. FLNC would be my bet to the downside if I wanted to take one. I'm just probably on the sideline today. BE could be another bet to the downside. If FLNC is really going to drop down, BE will kind of let it up here. And it recently just broke right back to the 90 MA. Would have to give it some room though on BE because that thing tends to fly. Now SMGL starting to turn around there, so at least the lithium stock's looking a little bit better. Here's that SGML chart before I get out of here, guys. So you see that kind of holding right there. Now I really got to just hold off that bottoming, right? It just can't break those lows, right? If it starts to get green bar here, get back to 740s, I'm looking really good on the swing side of things. SMR pulling back there and grabbing me right there, right? So could just catch here and then go right back up. It's just too much risk on a day like today where I'm not seeing it. And if I'm not seeing it, I'm only going to put risk on names that I feel like I have a better daily chart to catch, which is this SGML continuing. That's going to be the last bet on the swing side of things, down about $24. So just to put that in perspective, I'm up about 683 on the account, and this is the funded swing account, right? So that's going to do it for me, guys. I definitely do think still MSOX is getting ready to go, but that looks like it's going to be an afternoon type of day. I would even look for maybe one more attempt to 8 and sometime during the afternoon. Like I tell you, they gap and crap it. They just gapped and kind of hung out. It's made people spend money. So we'll see what happens there. And like I told you, there's that algo that kind of in control. Look for that to fall off the tape, and then maybe you might see a change in trend. That's going to do it for us, guys. Like always, keep up with us tomorrow. I'll be on Trader TV. Check out the competition, of course. Last time I'll mention that and get in it before it gets out of here. We'll see you guys tomorrow, like always. Last words for those traders out there, Michael. Shut down.
More fun tomorrow. I think that's more fun tomorrow than it was today for sure. So make sure you tune back in.
Of course, tune back.